Hey, what's up? This is Jake from Chess.What, and welcome back to the channel as we analyze Game 3, the only match that won out of 4 matches in the final of the FIDE Freestyle Chess World Championship 2026 between Fabiano Caruana versus Magnus Carlsen. So actually, Fabi and Magnus drew their 3 matches, and only this game only, is the only game that ended in resignation. So let's take a look and see what happens in this game here. Fabi is playing white here as Magnus is playing black, and it is the position 889 of the chess 960 or freestyle chess or Fisher random. Okay, all right. So many names. So Fabi goes c4 here, opening the diagonals for his queen and his bishop. f5 by Magnus, f4 by Fabi, c6, e3, e6, knight f3, knight f6, knight f2. So Fabi develops his 2 knights here in the game, and Magnus goes bishop h5, attacking early in the game this knight on f3. Should this knight move anywhere on this square or anywhere? Magnus can capture this bishop on d1, having white's king to recapture back and won't be able to castle. So that's probably the plan for Magnus here. So Fabi continued to play d4, knight f7 by Magnus, h3, looking to go g4 next for Fabi. a5 by Magnus, stopping any bishop b4 shenanigans from Fabi. And now Fabi goes g4, attacks the bishop and this pawn right here. This may seem like a pawn sacrifice, but let's see what happens. F takes g4, h takes g4, knight captures a pawn, knight captures, and bishop captures g4. And here we have queen takes h7 pawn, evens up the pawn for Fabi. So bishop f6 by Magnus defends the pawn here. Queen d3 for Fabi, d5 for Magnus attacks the pawn. C takes d5, c takes e5, knight h4 for Fabi, and here Magnus decides to, okay, if you want to exchange pieces, let's go. So Magnus captures the bishop in d1, king captures the bishop in d1, and here Magnus captures the knight on h4, which is actually a mistake for the reason that there is this move for Fabi here, which he did. Rook a c1 gives a check to the king. King goes to d7, and queen b5 checks the king. King goes to d6, and look at the position of these pieces here from their previous positions. This rook on a1 wasn't doing anything. Goes c1, and the queen goes to b5, putting an immense pressure on these squares here for black. And Fabi now takes the bishop. So it was a nice tactic for Fabi before recapturing with the bishop. He first gives a check, developing his pieces and improve his position. I think it's intermezzo, by the way. It's intermezzo. Before you recapture, you give a check, or you play a move that's in between the moves. It's called intermezzo. So the game continued by Magnus rook c8, offers a rook's exchange. Fabi said no. King d2, Fabi said, if you want to exchange rook, you take my rook first and I'll recapture my rook and I'll still have this open file here controlled. So Magnus decided to let his queen join the party as his queen wasn't doing anything here on its starting position, b8. So he goes a7. So f5 by Fabi. Queen a6 for Magnus. Magnus decides to, okay, let's go change queen and at least takes away some of the pressure that white is putting here in this game. Queen b3 for Fabi. Rook c4 by Magnus. Magnus looking to develop the other rook and help on to defend or attack, counter-attack. So Fabi continued to take the e6 pawn. King recaptures a pawn on e6. Fabi captures the rook. D takes c4 and queen d1. And here in this position right here, Fabi is still has the advantage, and Magnus said as his queen wasn't really having a lot of squares to play to, Magnus goes c3, sacrificed the pawn, which is kind of awesome. You know, this high level plays. Yeah, you get to appreciate this kind of move here, sacrificing a piece for space actually. So bishc c3 for Fabi and knight d6 for Magnus, looking to go in these squares, and also this queen can go to this square here. And here Fabi is still winning this game. He goes queen g4 check, king d5, rook f4, defending the square here. Should knight go here? But Magnus goes queen c4, attacks a8 pawn. And here they are both playing with down a minute under clock. And for Fabi here, he thought for a couple of seconds, maybe he was planning to maybe he was thinking, what do I do here? Should I continue a few moves in attacking Magnus? But he couldn't really find a decisive play here to win the game. So after a few seconds, he opted to go defensive mode. He probably thought, okay, I'm one pawn up. Let's defend this pawn on a2 and go to the end game with a pawn up and probably win the game. So that was probably what he was thinking there. He knew he knew this in this position that he was winning. He had a better position, but couldn't really calculate all that much as he was playing with low on time here. So he just chose to play it safe, and defend this a2 pawn here. So that's what he did. Queen g2 check, king e7 by Magnus. So Magnus king was just dancing on this squares here, dancing back and forth. Fabi goes queen h3. Dax king goes back to d5. Queen h1 check, king e6. And here Fabi, this one here, he gives away so much of his advantage by playing queen d2, defends the pawn here. So okay, so let's go back a few moves and see what the engine was suggesting to play here in this position. So the engine was saying the best move here for Fabi was not to go slowly, was not to go down slowly to h1 and defend this pawn here. The engine was saying go f3 check, king e6, and then you go the winning move, rook e4. You exchange sacrifice. And let's just say if Magnus does not take the rook here, instead goes down to d7, Then there's this rook e7 check. Black's king has nowhere to go but to go to the 8th rank, g8, and queen f8, checkmate. You block with the knight, it's still GG for black. So that was what Fabi missed there. The move, exchange sacrifice, rook e4. Okay, let's continue. What if where was that? Okay, here. Rook e4, king e6, rook e4 check. So let's just say Magnus accepts the exchange sacrifice. Queen takes e4, check the king, and there are only 3 squares here for the black's king here. Either of these squares are losing for black. Say for example, king d6, and in this position right here, what do you think the move here for white to continue the attack and eventually win the game? I'll give you a few seconds to think. Okay, so when the king goes in this rank, 7th rank, it's already losing for black. So the better way for you to move as black here, at least, maybe white could miss this d6, king d6 move. There's actually bishop g3. Gives a check to the king. King goes no other way but to go to this 7th rank. And there it is. Queen takes b7, forking the king and the rook. King goes to e6. You capture the rook. Now white is up on material and also 2 pawns up, and it's still GG for black. So yeah, but anyway, here king e6, queen b1 for Fabi, and Magnus continued to play king d7, e4 by Fabi, rook e8 for Magnus. Those attack this pawn here, even though it's defended by both the queen and white's rook. So Fabi tried to play g3 and hopefully gain back some of his advantage that he had early on in the game. Plays bishop g3. g5 by Magnus attacks the rook. Rook goes to g4. He could not leave this rank here as his pawn is being attacked by 2 pieces from black. Rook f8. Magnus takes control of his open file here. Queen b3. Fabi's offering a quick exchange, but Magnus enters f1 square. With 19 seconds on the clock, Fabi tried to at least play d5. He actually missed this queen g2 move. I didn't know why he did not defend this. Can he defend this though? Can he defend this as white? The g2. Yep, there is queen d1. So Fabi could have played queen d1, but still the advantage has turned over to black side now, as Fabi now is the one that's losing this game in this position. Earlier he had the advantage, but he gives it away by playing safe, and probably he could not find a way to continue the attack. So queen d5 for Fabi, hoping Magnus attack here on his king is not enough to lose him the game, but actually there's queen g2, check to the king. King goes to d1 and rook f1, and here Fabi resigned the game. So what can you do here as white? Let's just say Fabi continued the game by playing bishop e1, covers the check, but then the rook here is wide open. Queen captures the rook, gives a check. Let's just say king does not go away from this bishop, as this bishop is in danger. king d1, queen g2 check, king d1, and here queen f2, and there's no way you can defend this as white as this queen here cannot go back and defend this bishop. This queen cannot even check the king on these squares, as these squares are defended by this amazing knight here by black. So yeah, that's it. Fabi loses this game, game 3, and so game 1 and 2 were draws, and then this game 3 is won by Magnus. They proceed to play game 4 after this match, and that game was also a draw. And for that reason, Magnus Carlsen wins that tournament and becomes the first FIDE Freestyle Chess World Champion. So congratulations to Magnus. Yeah, that's it. And thank you for watching. And as always, have fun playing chess. Bye-bye.